I loved this book when it came out, so I was very excited when I heard it was being made into a movie, and by Netflix as well. They have a history of good movie adaptations, but did I love this movie? Let's wait and see. Welcome back, or if you are new here, welcome. My name is Katrina and I make bookish content here on this channel every week and then movie reviews here at the weekend, and I love making a book versus movie video. I will leave my book versus movie playlist linked up above in case you have missed any. They are probably one of my favourite kind of videos to make, and yes, I read There's Someone Inside Your House by Stephanie Perkins in this very room in 2017, and it was the first book that scared me. It scared me so much I had my windows open and I went and closed my windows whilst reading this because I was so scared by it. So I was very excited about a movie adaptation. Basically, we have a small town in Nebraska that is under threat of a serial killer. The serial killer is killing high school students and they have a very specific reason for doing so. So as always with a book versus movie video, I know that when an author signs over the rights to their book, the movie makers can do whatever they want to with it, and even down to like changing the title, changing the characters, changing the entire plot. And so I don't expect the movie adaptation to be exactly the same as the book. However, I love comparing and contrasting and bringing the differences to you here. So yes, in the book There's Someone Inside Your House by Stephanie Perkins, the killer has some very specific reasons for killing the high school students that they do, and in the movie the killer has some very specific reasons for killing the high school students that they do. However, those reasons are completely different in the book than in the movie. Of course, this video is going to be spoiler free. It's going to be very hard to make it spoiler free, but they have different reasons, and that's all I'm saying. It was quite weird because I was expecting it to go down a certain route, and then when the motivation was revealed to have changed, or revealed to not be the same, it's not changed, it was never the other thing in the movie, I was like, oh, okay, we're going down a different route here. Interesting. Okay, so this is the only book to have kind of really scared me. So at the end of the video, we'll sum up whether the movie scared me as much as the book did or not. But yes, I have some notes here for you, so I'm going to be referring to those. Our main character in the book and the movie is Makani, who has moved in with her grandma in Osborne, Nebraska, and she's moved there from Hawaii. So in the book, she talks about the sort of differences and the difficulties she's finding adapting from having been born and brought up in Hawaii to then being in small town Nebraska. That's never covered in the movie, but then that's probably a character detail that we need in the book that can be kind of shown through other things in the movie. But when it comes to the characters, the majority of the character names are the same, and I think that they've done a really good job of casting the characters from the book in the movie. I think that the casting was really spot on. I really bought that these characters were playing the people that I'd read about in the book, and so I thought that they'd done a good job with that. However, some of those characters are quite different. Whilst they have the same name as the people in the book, they have quite different traits, and they are quite their role in the story is quite different. Again, very hard not to give spoilers. So whilst the names and the casting I think were, you know, the same, kind of done well, the character traits are quite different. I found Makani very likable and I sympathised with her when reading the book, whereas when I was watching the film I did not like her and I did not sympathise with her and I was not rooting for her, which is hard when, you know, you're meant to be rooting for a main character to not get killed by a serial killer, you know. So yeah, I didn't like her as much in the film, and I actually didn't like any of the characters as much in the film. The film, I feel like, is trying to be a teen slasher movie akin to I Know What You Did Last Summer, Scream, etc., etc. And you know, the opening scene feels very, very like Scream, that's for sure. But I feel like it's almost trying too hard to be like that, whereas the book is subtly like that. The book is like a classic slasher movie, but I feel like the book creates a little bit more tension and a little bit more intrigue with what it's doing, because it has that space to do so. The movie is an hour and a half long. The audiobook was just over 8 hours long. So I did reread this one on audio before watching the movie. And so the book does have more scope to do that. It has more time to develop these characters and build a reader's sympathy. Whereas the film only has an hour and a half for you to sympathise with these characters that are, you know, obviously getting killed off throughout the course of the film. So yeah, not only is the sort of killer's motivation in the film very different, the sort of killer themselves is very different as well, and they have a certain look that they achieve. Again, trying very hard not to give any spoilers. A certain look that they achieve that isn't mentioned in the book at all. So that was interesting, and I thought that added another layer to a fairly one-dimensional film. This very specific look and the motivation of the killer in the film I thought was different and was intriguing. However, the motivation of the killer in the book was also intriguing. It's just very, very plain, no spoilers here. In the book there is a corn maze mentioned, and the book kind of like builds up to everyone attending this corn maze towards the end of the book. And the corn maze does appear in the film, but again in a very different way. And I thought that the corn maze mentioning and scenes in the book were very sort of scary and tense moments, whereas the corn maze scene in the film was kind of like very flat. Interesting, talking about Nebraska, very flat. And so I thought that the inclusion of the corn maze in the book was important, whereas I feel like the inclusion of the corn maze in the film was not important. And that scene was really a bit nothing. I don't know if they filmed more of it and cut it and it got edited out, but I was surprised that there wasn't more corn maze action in the film, which I thought was very interesting. And then sort of circling back to Makani, in both the book and the film she has a secret, and this secret is sort of key to the plot, so I obviously will not spoil that secret. However, in the book she reveals the secret only towards the end of the book, because it is key to the kind of the plot moving on. And again, not going to go into what it is or when that is. However, in the film we get sort of trickled through details about the secret as we go through the film, and so I thought that was interesting. The secret itself is the same and the setup is exactly the same. However, we get kind of flashes of what that secret is throughout the course of the film. I don't know if I only noticed that it was giving us a lot more detail earlier on because I know the secret, because I've read the book twice, or if we do just get more details early on so that that scene later on in the film is less long and, you know, doesn't slow the overall pace of the film down. I don't know if you've seen it and read the book. Did knowing the secret mean that you understood those flashes? If you haven't read the book, did you understand those flashes? And then linking back again to the characters being less likable, they spend a lot of time as teens outside of school smoking weed. And in my notes here I've written, did they replace plot and suspense with weed? Clearly at that moment in the film I was feeling very scathing, or something had happened or not happened that I was not happy about. But did they replace the plot of the film with weed? I just don't know. Weed was never mentioned extensively in the book, and the characters just seem to, whatever the problem they're facing or thing that they're celebrating, the answer is to go to weed. And I checked, and the book came out in 2017, the movie came out last week. Has weed been legalized in Nebraska between then and now? No, it has not. And so I was like, maybe that's it, maybe that's the reason behind it. But I mean, they wouldn't be doing it anyway because they'd be minors. I was just like, why are we now going to a scene where we're all together smoking weed? Why are we now going to a scene where he's hiding over there smoking weed? Like, let's go to a scene where there's some plot and some suspense and, you know, building to a scary moment, or let's find out some more about that character, or let's try and build some sympathy for that character. No. We have replaced plot and suspense with weed, which leads me to my summing up of this book versus movie. I feel like we've kind of like kept the same general idea and the same general characters. You know, teens are being killed off in Osborne, Nebraska for a very specific reason. However, the execution of the two things was very different. So we've got the same general plot, we've got the same essence, we've got the same characters, but the execution was very different. I watched this film late at night and then happily went to bed and slept through the night, no problems. I did not keep my attention on the film generally. I, ordered some clothes and some books from a website whilst watching. I was texting with some friends and doing some other bits and pieces whilst watching, whereas when I read the book, I was completely engrossed in the book. The tension build-up was wonderful and it scared me. And even listening to the audiobook this week on my commute to and from work, I found myself at points sort of semi-holding my breath. Don't worry, I was still driving safely, but sort of semi-holding my breath. And I finished off right before watching the film, and even then I was like, I sort of stopped what I was doing to stop and listen, and the film just didn't achieve that for me. So in terms of book versus movie, I would 100% say book. If you are looking for a kind of bit of a nothing film to have in the background as part of your Halloween watching this October, fair enough, put it on. It's on Netflix, may as well. It's only an hour and a half, may as well. However, you're just going to see characters being very one-dimensional, smoking weed, and it trying to be Scream but failing. So whilst that might sound scathing, that is my opinion and I am sticking with it. Let me know if you have read this book, watched this movie, what did you think? Are there any other book to movie adaptations coming out soon that you would like to hear my thoughts on? I am always happy to go away and do that work for you here and bring you the results here on this channel. Speaking of which, please make sure you are subscribed and hit that notification bell so that you do not miss out on my next book versus movie video. I will have more bookish content for you next week and a movie review for you at the weekend, so you don't want to miss out. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and yeah, as I say, let me know future book to movie adaptations in comments. I will see you with that movie review at the weekend. Thanks for watching.